Good day, everybody. This is John Hester here, and I'm at Hester's Motorsports in Raton, New Mexico. And today, I'm going to show you a couple things we're doing on this Teryx S model here. So this basically follows all Teryx S models. So basically, the stock A-arms are, they're not really all that big. Let me grab my caliper here real quick here, just to kind of show you. So of course this is in millimeters, just so we can have, actually I'll put it on inches just so you can see the inches. What's everybody knows inches here. Okay. Right there, not even, I got a crack right there, but it's 1.017. It's basically 1 inch. It's basically 1 inch thick. So this is one thing that we say, this is always a good upgrade to do on a machine, especially if you're in rocks, ruts and everything. You're going to go from a stocking arm like this to a Super ATV arm like this. But bam! Holy moly! Look at this. .51 inch and a half. So it's a half inch larger, much more massive, much higher arch to it than before. So this is definitely why you want to upgrade your Super ATV to a Super ATV front arms. Also, it relocates the front forward 1.5 inches, giving you proper clearance. Now, everybody like, well, I could put a bracket lift and I could put 2-inch wheel spacers and then I could fit 30s, no problem. Yeah, you can do that, mainly because the Teryx tapers out. So putting a spacer brings it out, but then putting a spacer on, you have your own problem because now you're getting further from the pivot point. So whenever you rotate, your wheel actually moves forward and backwards along with it instead of rotating. It's called, you get that scrub steer on there. So what happens is whenever you turn, your tire actually moves further back. But the Teryx design, how this is angled, you can kind of get away with that. Now, the second thing is, yeah, you can clear if you don't use suspension. As you can tell, this goes at a forward angle. This goes at a slight backwards angle. So this actually comes inward. So if you compress your shock, you're going to rub with 30s without this. Now, just bebopping down a road and little tiny trails and stuff like that, yeah, you can get away with it. And this is all steel, so not really going to hurt much of anything. You're going to rub in here on steel. So you're not tearing up plastic. So, if you don't care about rubbing a little bit of paint, yeah, you can do 30s on stock arms. Now, here's the other thing on this. So we're upgrading not only arms, but we're upgrading to the Hester Edition Elka shocks. So with my shocks, you're going to gain a massive, massive ride quality improvement and performance like you never thought the Teryx could be. It's a whole different world going from the stock Foxes. Now, keep in mind, and I say this in a lot of videos, Fox, the manufacturer, makes a good shock. Fox OEM shocks are terrible. It's not Fox's fault. You have to think like an OEM. So Kawasaki comes to Fox and says, hey, we want to put your Podium 2.0s on a Teryx, but we only want to pay you $100 a shock. What kind of shock do you think that Fox is going to have to build? Well, they build a shock that is of low quality. The body is okay. The shaft is okay. This cap here has almost no pathways, and this actually has smaller than about a 1 ounce bladder inside here. It doesn't, this is for show. This barely even works because there's the pathways are so microscopic up inside here. Now, like I said, this isn't Fox's fault. it's a money fault, you know. Everybody's got to make profit, so that's the thing. So, so you have to build a shock that is as cheap as possible to meet the OEM. So this is why, you know, the internals and stuff aren't that good. So if you revalve this, you can make it better. You can make it ride better. But really, to change the performance on this shock, this whole upper body needs to be completely replaced with a proper Fox upper shock body, a QS3, new internal piston, new valving, all that stuff. So by the time you do all that, you're going to spend all that money. Oh yeah, and the springs. Too soft a spring in the front, too stiff a spring in the rear. The machine is unbalanced. That's why it always stink bugs. And it's not because of this rake. You can see that the frame rakes up right here and we're flat right here. That's how it's supposed to be. I'm talking from here all the way to back there is one level frame. See? You can see how much higher this is. This is designed for what's called breakover angle. So this is designed into it, this rake. You measure down here. This is where you measure. Right here. You don't measure at the hitch because the hitch actually curves up a little bit. So you'll get a slightly different number measuring from here than to right here. So just kind of showing you how that works there. Now, back up onto this here. So changing to our shocks, you gain quite a bit. Not only is the springs proper, the machine is balanced front to rear. By balancing the machine front and rear, you're going to lift the front more than the rear. You're going to gain some lift. You're going to gain extra wheel travel. So you gain 2.5 inches total wheel travel by changing to our shocks. So you go from 10-inch in the front, 10-inch in the rear, basically on the Foxes, to 12.5 with the Hester Edition Elkas. And this is any stage. I build all 5 stages the same, and it's really awesome. Much higher quality shock, much higher quality piston, custom valvings, all done by me, tested and everything by me. So that's why it's a Hester Edition shock. It is a massive, massive upgrade in ride quality performance. Check out on Facebook, you can go to Hester Edition Elka Suspension Owners page, and countless of people on there that, you know, nothing but raves on there all the time. So I always tell everybody, you want to hear what the owners say, go to that page, ask the owners, let them tell you. Basically, I let the suspension speak for itself. I don't really do much as far as the way of posting and advertising and stuff like that, because I don't have to. The shocks speak for themselves. Everybody that gets them highly recommends them. The other thing, because of the extra travel, I mean, you can clearly see this arm is lower than this arm. So we gain more down travel and we gain more up travel. That's the 2.5 inch completion on there. So adding 2.5 inches doesn't mean this shock is just massively longer, shoving everything down. Everything is still within tolerance. So if I unbolt this, the A-arm will actually drop down a little bit on its own. But we do use the full potential. There's a big difference. I do tons of testing, so I work everything out. Comes out of the box, ready to bolt up. Everything good to go. You know, you don't have to sit there and set your ride height and everything. I mean, literally, you get them on and you go ride and enjoy and have fun. You definitely gain some more capability with the extra 2.5 inches of wheel travel, but you really, this setup is pretty awesome because number one, we're getting rid of the bushings. Now, I've got videos on this that shows the stock bushings versus the UHMW bushings, how much thicker these are, how much better they are, and plus Kawasaki uses a pressed rubber bushing. Like this one is a pressed rubber bushing here. So this thing, it does not move at all. It completely binds. So I've got other videos putting the shocks on with stock A-arms, bushings, and 30s. Yeah, we do that all the time, sure. But I do explain to people, once this sucker starts compressing way up here, you're gonna have a little bit of rub. But that's circumstantial because, like I said, you have to compress that sucker all the way up. And then, of course, you know, if you're turning and, you know, it's certain scenarios, and if you rub, it's very minor and it's for an instant. So, but if you want zero rub, zero rub, this is the way to go. Not to mention, if you're you're hammering rocks and ruts, this is clearly the way to go, mainly because much more beefier. I mean, it's just a massive A-arm, quite a bit better. And of course, you got the camber adjustment, so you can play with the camber and set it up however you want. Kawasaki does have different camber left to right, you know, driver side to passenger side. So they do run a little bit more negative camber on the passenger side because, well, you know, the way the Japanese think is, you know, oh, American only know how to turn left. So basically, the way, when you have the tire cambered over and you chuck it into a left-hand corner, the chassis rolls over, then the tire is straight. That gives you more bite underneath. So negative camber is a very good thing. So if you have your tire straight up and down, you chuck it into a corner, the tire rolls out. Now your tire rolls under the vehicle and you have what's called push. You'll go into a corner and you'll cut the steering and the machine will push into the corner, making you pull throttle, transfer weight to the front, and then you can start to turn. So having proper negative camber. So we like to run -1 degree on the front. The rear, we're going to run about -0.5 degree, -1 for more performance. You could tilt it in, you know, run -1.5 to 2 for more aggressive drivers. So if you're cutting corners more, you want to run that a little bit more negative camber. So like on the factory A-arms, you're about -1 on the driver's side and about almost -2 on the passenger side. So if you ever see a Teryx and you're like, wait a minute, this side is tilting in more than this side, there you go. It is designed like that. That's the way they designed it. Now this one, we are also doing the rear arms and our shocks. So, and of course we're changing everything up here because the customer wanted them lime green. So we took his red A-arms and then simply repainted them. And here's his stock upper rear A-arms to match. Anybody want to know? There it is. So it's from color right, and there is the number 305 10R Kawasaki. That's new Kawasaki lime green. And look at that, flawless match in between the, that's the Super ATV front arms, that's the stock factory rear upper arms. Now, this is the other shock for the front right here. But yeah, so you gain extra wheel travel, which is really nice, you know. Bumps you up to 12.5 inches of wheel travel with our shocks. But yeah, you know, I mean, look how massive those Super ATV arms are. Definitely the way to go. If you want to fit, I mean, yeah, you could stuff 32s in this arrangement. But, I mean, it's a Teryx. 32s is pushing it without portals. I'm being honest, you know. You can do it. But once again, you know, putting a 32 on here, especially with our shock, because with our shock and a 30, because of the added wheel travel, we do recommend for somebody that, if they're going to be an aggressive driver, they're going to use this suspension, right? They're going to use the travel. We do recommend to put at least a 1-inch bed lift, which is pretty easy. So all you do is, you know, right now, this is the spacers. Every other dealer puts these spacers on the inside of the bed. We put them on the underside of the bed just to lift it that little bit. That's when we assemble them. But yeah, basically all it is there's 4 bolts, 2 on this side, 2 on that side. Let me put my light on here just so you can see. So yeah, all you do is you just unbolt everything here, take your 2 rear seats out. This is the easiest way to do it. So take your 2 rear seats out, unbolt the whole deck bed and everything. Bam, all this comes off. Then this rail right here, you unbolt the rail, you're going to get 4 longer bolts, 4 longer spacers, or a 1x1 square pipe. Spacers are better because the pipe you can crush unless you put a spacer inside the pipe. But just kind of giving you, an idea. But yeah, all you need is a 1-inch spacer and 4 1-inch longer bolts. You bolt this bed rail back in, because that's all this is. It's just this piece right here. And then you just bolt everything back on and you're done. There's no trimming, no modification done to it. All it is just a little bit of elbow grease, 4 longer bolts, and some spacers. Nobody makes an actual kit to do that, but there you go. That's just how that's how you do a 1-inch bed lift on there. With 32s, I mean, you're gonna rub up here. So you have to keep that in mind. I mean, there's limitations, and really 30s is a sweet spot on the Teryx. I'm being honest. The gear ratio and everything, the way the power output is, even with the clutch, it could pull 32s, but it doesn't really like 32s. You know what I mean? I've done machines with, Teryxes with long travels and 32s and stuff. But yeah, I mean, really a beast build. Put a set of our shocks on, set of these bad boys, 4-inch portals, and then, put on some 32s or 33s. And then you got a wicked rock crawler. And then if you want to go the mud route, I mean, you can do the same scenario. Or you can modify the rear end here and put the long travel on. Or the 6-inch lift kit and go bigger tires and bigger portals. And we have every scenario possible. I mean, I've done it all. So you ever need anything, all your parts, accessories, whatever, I mean, we help with everything, and we know every scenario, and we know what fits. And we're going to be honest with you. So somebody calls me up and say, hey, I want to run 32s. I'm like, well, this is basically, I mean, you need to have the lift of the shocks. You need to have the arched arms front and, well, you don't need the rear ones. The rear ones are just for more clearance, because the rear on the S is already set back 2 inches. You only change the lower arms in order to get that arch and then have camber control. And of course, this is set up for the Rocky Mountains. I mean, it's going to be going up in the rocks and trails and everything. So this is why, customer is beefing them up. And he's going to run 30s. He's going to take my advice and run 30s. Another reason why is he doesn't want to send his clutch off and have it all machined and everything. So we're just going to put a stage 1 clutch kit on this, some 30s. We're going to liven it up. It's going to be, an awesome, huge upgrade in everything. We're gaining a little bit of wheelbase. We're freeing up the A-arms, allowing them to work properly by putting in a better bushing, putting in a much better shock. It's going to be night and day. This customer's going to, once we're kind of done with it, he's not putting 30s on yet. He wants to wear these down and then get 30s. But once this machine is all done, I'm going to show how everything sits with it all installed and everything on. Right now, I mean, we don't have bolts on and everything yet, so we're still everything's just holding in place right now. So just wanted to kind of show everything. I like to do a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, but really highlight the Super ATV high clearance arms on the Teryx S models, how massive they are. A lot of people don't know. I mean, we explain, and these suckers are massive, and you get that wicked setup, and it's stout, and it's a beast setup right there. And do our shocks, do the front arms, you can do the rear arms if you want, but yeah, you set your machine up like that and it's a whole different machine. I mean, it's just, you're going from a toothpick. Let me grab this. This is the lower A-arm here. There's the lower A-arm here. And then here's the lower A-arm Super ATV. You see? Look at that. Look at how massive that sucker is. Night and day. And you could read, you know, Kawasaki OEM ball joints are very good. They're really good. Some of the best on the market. You can upgrade if you really want to. But if your ball joints, you know, if they're not torn or nothing like that, just keep them, run them, you know. You could always upgrade later. Excuse me. If you're looking to do portals, that's usually where I'm going to say, you know, you might think about upgrading to some Keller ball joints. We could help with that as well. So that should pretty well cover it. We're going from wimpy, 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 hefty, hefty Hester, or Hester, Hester, Hester. There we go. always try to tell people, you know, spend money where you need to, and save your money where you don't need to. Now, do you, like I said at the start of the video, do you need to upgrade your arms? If you're just a bebop around, you like to ride on roads, you know, you might not need these. You might not need these. But if you're going off-road and you're hitting rocks and you're going in deep ruts, you need these. Because I'll tell you, ain't nothing sucks more than to have this sucker fold in on you because you just clipped a rock. This sucker, you bash on that sucker, yeah, you'll take paint off, but that's all you're gonna do. So huge upgrade going with the Super ATV front arms. Huge upgrade in ride quality and performance. This is the best money spent on any machine. It is absolutely crazy what a top quality shock will do to a machine. Like I said, you don't have to take my word for it. Go to the owner's page. Ask the owners themselves. We've been doing Teryx S shocks since the S came out. I mean, I think spring of 21. So 4 years. I've had all 5 stages for 4 years. I'm the only one that had shocks for the S for years. I had shocks before a lift kit was even made for them, for the S. So I know how to do the shocks. Sold hundreds of Teryx shocks, hundreds, for the S. It is night and day. And look at the stroke on that sucker, man. Ooh, boy. Slicker and snot on the doorknob, boy, I tell you what. So, now, what can we build for you today?